Ladies and gents, Matt is the founder of the Q Performance, and his business is making sure that businesses like our members make good decisions with the right data based on real experiences and what you're actually going through. Matt formed Q Performance back in 2007. He's a former plumber, but we won't hold that against him.
Please don't. No, please don't.
We all know plumbers, need to know certain things like what day's payday, and that water flows downhill.
Yes.
But Matt formed Q Performance after that he realised he was sort of enslaved to his business and that he wasn't really getting a lot out of his business compared to the hours that he was putting in. So Matt, welcome.
Cheers, Jason. Thanks. Great to be here, that's for sure.
Thank you. So mate, obviously we're in uncharted territory with the pandemic at the moment. Can I first ask you, what are your thoughts on how you think businesses are reacting to the situation at the moment? And then secondly, how do you think businesses should react to the current situation?
Yeah, I think there's sort of two profiles that we're seeing reacting at the moment. And I've been in a lot of other focus groups and a lot of webinars last week with a lot of other bodies and support groups. And there seems to be sort of two types of people, and we see it in business generally as well. Like two types of people are a bit reactive. There's one type of person, that a bit reactive to what's happening. They're probably listening to the white noise a bit too much, and they're sort of, going off the cuff, I suppose, in terms of some of their reactions. Some knee-jerk reactions there. So that's sort of one type that we're sort of seeing a bit, where people are thinking that the sky is going to fall in and everything is gone. The other type of person, and this is what I really want to sort of talk about today, is that we're looking at this as an opportunity. And if we look back, and for some of the who have been part of business for a long time, we had the GFC that not long ago. We had recessions. We've had a lot of things in our time where there's a blip. This is definitely a different sort of blip that we've never had before. But the one thing that won't change is that this is going to reset your business model, okay, going forward. So you've got to look at it from an opportunity point of view. Some of the things that what we're doing with our clients that are working with us and people within the Cube, is that what can you do in terms of a reset and that from opportunity? So in other words, what processes can you reset? So in other words, right now, the type of clients that you're actually working for. So you'll reset your culture. Can you actually start resetting your culture internally? Because a lot of time, for a lot of people, they're not having not running around as busy as they were previously. So now's that time where, hey, you've actually got time to stop, have better dialogue with your team, okay? Better dialogue with your customers. So for a lot of people that we see over the years, and when we say, well, why haven't you got a training induction program? Why don't you sort of invest time in the culture? Why don't you invest time in really understanding your customers' problems? What do you think the number one thing is that they say they don't do that? They haven't got what? Time. Got no time. Jonesy, great idea. I love it, Jonesy, but I'm a bit different. I've got no time. Well, now I'm saying for a lot of you, you've actually got time. So the thing for me, and this is what we do with all our clients, if you're focusing on your processes, if you're focusing on testing and measuring what you're doing, having better conversations, you haven't got enough time to listen to the white noise. So what I'm trying to, and we don't know, like tomorrow there could be the government might shut other things down to another level. We don't know what about that. But what we can really work on right now is for everyone, if you want to write this down as well, is actually reflect and review. So use this time to reflect and review what you've done great, maybe for the last 10 years, last year. Reflect on it and then review what you can sort of reset. So in essence, it's an opportunity. Yeah. So that's a big thing that we're seeing. And those people that are getting it are really excited about what can be.
One of the things I've noticed particularly about the government, and I mean government at every level, whether it's local council, state and federal, one of the things I've noticed particularly is that there's a major call, obviously, for construction and for the economy to keep going. But there's also a big call for those areas to actually bring forward or ramp up their expenditure in the public sector. in terms of that reset that you're talking about, is that an opportunity for people, and how do you think they might go about actually, taking advantage of that opportunity that might be coming through from just about every level of government across the country?
Well, this is where it comes back to conversation. And this is where I recommend, this is where everyone on this call, please, if one thing comes out of this, you've got to be great on Zoom or online discussions, okay? So I've been telling people for years that it increases your productivity so they don't have to drive around everywhere, but also it increases your professionalism as well. So I recommend for all those clients right now, you can actually set up a meeting just like this, have a good face-to-face dialogue about, what is in their pipeline, what can be brought forward. So it's about increasing the quality of your conversations with all your customers, clients, and really sort of trying to say, listen, hey, Jason, as an example, hey, Jason, how are you, buddy? I know we're all bunkering down. It's a bit crazy, but let's move on from that. How can I help you? What's going on in your world that is creating you a bit of stress? And how can I actually, based on what we do, how can I help you? So it's really just everyone reaching out and look, honestly, it's showing that you care. It's really showing that you care. It's like what we're doing with all our clients at the moment. We're trying to really reach out. We're trying to get out to people because a lot of people, on a daily basis, I'm getting calls from business owners that are freaking out. And generally they're freaking out because they're listening to the wrong people and they're not focusing on what they can control. And like I say to a lot of people, so when was the last time you're freaking out about losing work? Well, have you spoken to your clients? Oh, no, I haven't spoken to them yet. I'm just assuming. Don't assume. That's the worst thing we can do. So I definitely recommend everyone should be getting a good online presence for using Zoom. And I'm really keen to hear actually of all the attendees at the moment. I'd love you to put there in the Q&A or whatever, who uses online technology to have meetings with your clients, or who has used it, this sort of technology to have a meeting with your client in the last couple of weeks. I'd love to know.
We've actually just got one comment there from Guy, who's just said he's completed a few quote inspections via Google Hangouts recently, and it's worked a treat.
Right. So Google Hangouts, cool. Love to know what else other people are using. I'd love to hear what other people are using there. But again, or just put it out there too. We'd love to hear. I'd love to hear what people say. Are you a bit freaked out by doing meetings like this? Because that's the sort of thing where these are sort of things I want you to understand. This is what I'm talking about, the reset. You can actually reset post this. This is how you can do a lot of your meetings, your team meetings, your site inspections going forward. Now, clients of ours who have been on front of technology, they're doing a lot of their client meetings now, and rather than running around everywhere, they are using the technology that's available. So I'm really keen to hear if people are still a bit apprehensive about technology, or they're keen to really embrace this technology.
So, Matt, in terms of pulling a lever, like going into a new area of work, say government contracting, for example, what sort of levers do you have to look at, or what sort of things do you have to consider about moving into a new, like doing a reset, but you might want to explore a new path of the industry, whether that's, you're in industrial, do you go commercial construction, or you might want to go into government. What sort of processes should employers or contractors be doing at the moment to try and evaluate some of that, and what things do they need to consider?
Well, look, I think where most people sort of go wrong when they are doing a bit of a reset or a bit of a pivot or looking for other opportunities, let's just say there are government contracts in play. And from the outside looking in, people see, there's all these $1 billion worth of contracts and everyone seems to be busy. So what people do is they actually jump in there without having the processes or the admin process, the administrative process to actually manage that work. So what I recommend, if you're going to do a reset, first and foremost, this is where a dialogue comes into play in terms of, okay, to do this sort of work, to do government work or more commercial work, what's work health safety compliance, how much more administration work do I need to do, checks and balances to actually make sure I can get invoiced. Do my team members need to go through a lot more site inspections and training again, which is more time, which again costs money. So what a lot of people fail to do is that they just look at the end game of, there's a lot of work, so they jump at it. But what we want everyone to do when we talk about reset, You know, are you set up? Are your systems and processes currently set up to really manage that type of work effectively? Because if it's not, it becomes an admin burden, and you know the profit goes south. So this is where, like, when I talk about the reset, have you got mostly, like right now, I'm sure all of you on the line, you know, are very good at obviously on the tools, and this is about being great on the business. So when I talk about the reset, you know, let's just say you want to go into, do maintenance work and maybe real estate work. So, well, the reset would be here is, how does your maintenance customers, how do they send out work orders? You know, do they send it via a PDF work order, via email? Do they just send it out of a body of a text via email? Because then you want to know exactly how that comes in. Like, can you effectively grab that information maybe automatically, roll that into a scheduled job, roll that scheduled job into assigning that to a team member, assigning that to a team member into a job, which then obviously then rolls into an invoice and rolls into getting paid. So when I talk about a reset, it's about, have we got all our processes from the time we get that first call from a client or that first work order? Are we efficiently able to process every step to get paid? That's the key. So we've got the middle bit, which is doing the job. Everyone can do that pretty well. It's just the pre and the post that, and this is where people then going forward, we want to make sure we're more efficient at what we do, and obviously they're more productive and profitable.
Matt, what do you think about the traditional tradie model is, particularly in what I call the smaller end of the market, whether it's domestic or small industrial, it's we quote and then we do the job and then we get paid. Given the shortage of possibly cash floating around in the industry at the moment, and you've talked about being efficient to get paid, I've had conversations with people who've really started to look at their terms and conditions in terms of their payments.
Yep.
And particularly suppliers then start to get a bit itchy when you start, you know, buying stuff on account, because they want to get paid as well. What's your view about making sure that cash flow is coming in by changing your terms and conditions now of trade with clients to say, well, if I'm going to put in X number of thousands of dollars worth of gear for you, you need to pay for the gear up front, and then, you know, pay for 30% once we've finished half the job, and then the balance on completion. Are they the sort of things that you're also sort of suggesting to members to have a look at as well, to make sure that they get that cash flow and keep that cash flow coming in?
Yeah, spot on. And this has got nothing to do with the pandemic. This is just business practice 101. So what I recommend, you know, if you're doing a lot of volume-based maintenance work with Mr. and Mrs. Jones that you never see again, it's pretty simple. Hey, Mrs. Jones, this is how we do it. I'm going to invoice you on site. I'm going to get paid on site. So that's a no-brainer, right? Those sort of jobs, I'm going to invoice and get paid on site. And with technology now, that's non-negotiable. For other ones where you're doing some project work, 100%, you've got to get a deposit paid up front, and then very clear payment terms about different stages and milestones. Now, why this is important, everyone, too, to get people signed off, is that you want a red flag. If someone comes up to you and they're starting to balk on paying a deposit, that's just telling you pretty much up front that this person's probably not going to be worth actually going down the track of working for. So this is pandemic or non, that's just the way that everyone, and from the trade game, we've got to be better at that, because that's got a massive saving in our time, chasing up payment, doing invoices at home, do it on site, get it done on site. So it saves the time, but then also it's cash in the bank, which is, again, it's a massive one. But yeah, right now is the time, everyone, really reset your payment terms, 100%. Do not leave yourself exposed, because again, what I'm going to say there, everyone, obviously we saw in the GFC where, unfortunately, you know, the subcontractor or the principal contractor goes down, or other people go down, and we're left holding the kitty. So please be on the front foot of that. Now, again, having great conversations, ringing everyone. Hey, Mr. Client, I love you like a brother. Just want to make sure, are you processing that payment Wednesday? Because I'm sitting here, and I'll talk about cash flow in a minute. These are the conversations you've got to have right now.
So, well, you talk about cash flow. What are we going to sort of raise about cash flow?
So I recommend everyone, there's 4 things you should be doing right now, what I'm telling to all our clients right now, because again, this is about being on the front foot here. This is really about being proactive. Number 1, call your home loan bank right now, and especially because we don't know, call your bank, whoever's got your home mortgage, okay, and talk to them. What have they got in play about, potentially holding your mortgage for 6 months? So again, get conversation in play there. Potentially, if your income has just gone next to nothing straight away, even if you're impacted half, 50, get on the front foot now and defer your home loan payment by 6 months. That's number 1. Number 2, whatever banks you've got where you've got equipment financing, same thing. Call them and say, pandemic virus has impacted my cash. Can I delay my repayments for 6 months? Again, have a conversation with your bank. Number 3 then too, in terms of your commercial leases, okay, if any of you got properties, please have a conversation with your landlords right now. Talk to your landlords about, and then ask them, what are they doing from their mortgage? Are they talking to their bank to defer 6 months? Great. The landlord's not having to pay mortgages for 6 months. I don't have to pay you rent for 6 months. Cool. And then the 4th and most important thing, everyone now going, you should be getting into your Xero file or My file or QuickBooks right now and reconciling your account right now, so that come the 1st of April, everyone, you pretty much should be submitting your BAS. Because once you submit that BAS to the ATO, that's when it's going to come effect with potential credits and other things like that in terms of accessing, especially from payroll. So please, right now, if you haven't even thought about it, start making sure you get all your invoices in, get all your expenses in, reconcile your bank accounts, the whole 9 yards, so that we get that in. And then you can then again have good conversations with your accountant. Hey, Mr. Accountant, based on all the policy, the government twos and throws, where do we stand? So there are 4 proactive conversations I recommend to have right now.
It's interesting you say that, because if I go back to Scott Morrison and the Prime Minister's actions so far, most of the banks have come to the fore about making sure that home loans and mortgages are able to be suspended. So that's good. In terms of the commercial leasing, the Prime Minister was very strong yesterday, is that, the landlord, the tenant and the banks all have to have a conversation, because at the end of the day, if you kick a tenant out who might be affected, say the tourist industry, etc., there's no other people looking for commercial leases at the moment. It's not a time, and when you come out of the other side, you actually want that tenant to still be there to start paying your lease again.
Correct.
So there is that no advantage there, and that trying to force people to pay money which they don't have and hit them with debt, it's really good. The reconciliation of the BAS absolutely needs to be done, because not only does the BAS do that, it will also help with the apprenticeship payments that are coming through the AASNs and
correct
that as well.
And that gets rolled back to January 1 as well.
Absolutely. So it's really important for people to actually have done that BAS, because we're a little bit overdue, I think, for a major announcement from the government, in terms they were supposed to have a meeting last night and actually come out of that meeting with a clear new package for employees that would help employers retain their staff. But we haven't heard from that as yet. So I'm not sure why there's the delay, but it'll be interesting to see, because I think that will enable a lot of businesses to actually retain, maybe 60 to 80% of their staff.
And I'm assuming a lot of this is going to come off whatever happens out of the March BAS, right? So that's based on your individual BAS. That's what they're going to determine the payments, and because they're going to look at your payroll, they're going to look at how many team members you've got on payroll, and that's how they'll determine it. So definitely just get your work with your accountant now, or your bookkeeper, or yourself, or your wife, or your husband, whoever's doing the books. Please get it up to date. This is the one time, just get it up to date, get it in ASAP so you can get those funds. But the key, coming back to that, so the key thing what we're trying to do here, everyone, is stop what's going out of your bank account. Okay, try and stop, especially from the banks and leasing, and just stop what's going out of your bank account. And that's what I'm talking about, a reset. Don't freak out about it. Just try and stop what's going out of your bank account. Okay, maximize, obviously, obviously holding what we've got at the moment, but just think everything's going to be stopping. But like you mentioned, Jason, we need our team on the other side of this. We're going to need premises on the other side of this. We're going to need equipment on the other side. So please don't do anything silly. Don't do anything. Just look at this as a bit of a, okay, hang on, time standing still. And let's just think about this practically. And, and that's the whole thing about resetting. Okay, what needs to twist and who do I need to talk about? Which I'm big on, because one thing, everyone, the only constant as a business owner is change. Okay, change is everywhere. If you don't like change, then probably not a great being a business owner. So we've just got to, and through that change is that, the only thing that we can control is us, is our decision making. So this is just another little change within the business environment. And again, really look at it as an opportunity to get closer with your tenant, the landlord, closer with your customers and closer with your team. Because I believe you're going to come out the other side stronger. And guess what? There are going to be businesses that are going to fall by the wayside. Okay. And generally those ones that will fall by the wayside, they are the weak ones. They're the ones that shouldn't be in business probably to start with. And a lot of the times they're the ones that are actually, they don't know their numbers. They're undercutting. They're not delivering value. They're giving the industry a bad name. So think of this as just a natural attrition. That's why I'm looking at, from our own business right now, I'm looking at this as a positive. From our own business right now, we've lost a lot of income with our training, a lot of stuff. So Jason, I'm talking because these are some of the strategies I'm doing as well. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, oh, that's a nice to have. I'm just going to let you know. I've called the banks. I've called my equipment financing. I've called everyone that needs to be on the front foot here because I'm going to I want to lock down my bank account. I don't want things coming out of my bank account.
So I think that you say that, we've had a couple of comments from Ray, saying that his bank's been proactive and actually called him proactively.
Right.
And he's also saying vehicle leases, requires you to contact the finance company, not the lease agent. So that's a good tip. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate it.
No, that's right. So don't call your broker. Don't go to the broker. So as an example, with my vehicles, okay, we've got vehicles through Fraser Financial Broking. Yep. That's held with Westpac. I go straight to Westpac. And say, hey, Mr. Westpac. So just to let you know, Westpac have been really good, very proactive. They're very good on some of their responses, in terms of emails and saying, yeah, this is what's happening. NAB has been really, really slow to react. Okay, I've got a lot of other stuff through NAB. They've been slow. And that's been a common feedback from a number of people. So, yeah, so anyone else who wants to throw out there, I'm keen to see who else has been proactive and spoken about. Or just tell us, gang, the people online, who thinks, yeah, definitely this week you should be on the blower. And talking to these people. Keen to see what your thoughts are, everyone.
Matt,
that's key.
Yeah, if I just move on, I just picked up something there you said in relation to people who are undercutting and buying jobs and all that sort of stuff. The reaction in times like this is to buy jobs, or it is to try and reduce your rate. Just wanting to get your thoughts about lowering your rate or whatever it happens to be to try and keep money coming in through the door. What sort of effect does that may that cause you down the track if you do?
Well, if you can undercut, it's just delaying the inevitable, right? By undercutting costs, you delay the inevitable. You're going to be in the cash. You're going to be in the red. Okay, so it's a no-brainer. If you're doing things at cost or below cost, it's going to cost you money. So it's either, if you're doing it just to keep the wolves at bay today, they're going to come back tomorrow or the next day. So one thing about this is you have to preserve your brand. You've got to preserve your brand. So if you go out there and start running around like a chook without a head and start undercutting and just doing, then people are going to look at you and go, hang on, well, last week you were trying to charge me $100. Now you're trying to charge me $80 as an example. So the person that you're going to, so are you saying, look, were you trying to rip me off last week? Or are you telling me that you're that unprofessional that you actually don't know your break-even point? So stand firm. The one thing that hasn't changed, everyone, is that you're still delivering value. You're still solving your key customers' problems. What I'm going to be trying to work out here in terms of that reset is maybe this is a good opportunity to really start cutting those customers that suck up a lot of your time, don't appreciate the value that you deliver, okay? They don't want to pay you on time. Now's the time to start moving away from those type of people and start having, but please do not undercut or go beyond what you're doing. Put these practices in place with the bank, with the government. Do that 1,000% before you even look at, well, it shouldn't even be, I'm not even going to talk about undercutting because it's just non-negotiable. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I should have probably just said the simple answer then, Jay. I should have said don't do it, right? So that should have been it.
No, that's fine. And it is. People do get nervous, and I must admit, and it's particularly when you've got tier ones, who then put the hard measure on people in terms of, best and final offers need to come in, and you're uncompetitive, and blah blah blah, all these sort of tricks of the trade that they love to do to try and screw you down on price, and even domestic consumers, as you said before, not paying, or they're a bit iffy if they, about paying a deposit. Is it really the customer that you want to go from there?
Now, just on those tier ones, this is for a lot of people. A lot of people are not cut out to do this tier one work because they haven't got the admin, because they are so admin and paper heavy and checks and balances and everything else, that most businesses haven't got the systems in place to adequately play the game.
Yep.
Because this is the thing, you got to understand the game. Tier one is a game, and if you're not prepared to play the game, you don't know the rules of the game, then you're going to get hurt. Yeah. So this is for a lot of people right now. If you're doing that type of work, and you've been on the breadline for too long and it's really exposed that now's the time to get away from that type of work. It might be $1 million worth of work, might be $100,000 worth of work, but if it's delivering zero on the bottom line and a lot of headaches and a lot of administration costs, then it's not worth it. So now's the time, everyone, take a breath and just sort of sit back and reset. Okay, so just try and sit back and reset and go, right, where do we go from? Let's go again. So,
alrighty.
Any other questions on there? Was there something else that popped up there, or?
Just one about one person said that they're not undercutting, but they have offered a discount to some of their good customers to help them through the next month or so. So obviously, it might be more in a service area, and they still want them to get the service done of whatever equipment it might be, but they've offered them a discount, but they're not undercutting their own cost model.
Yeah, so one thing here, because that's a really good point, right? So you've got an existing service customer, they're struggling, you want to keep them on board. So think about doing, and again, not so much yet, it can be sort of offering a discount, but I'd probably prefer to frame it this: I'll add value, right? I'll actually add some extra value to you. Don't worry about paying us this month, as an example, potentially, but I'll add some extra value to you, whether it be other checks and stuff like that, potentially. But yeah, I think if you've got a good relationship there with the clientele, and this is the whole thing about having a discussion, saying, listen, I understand you're in pain, I'm in pain. How can we sort of, collectively work together so we get through this? And there is that, and again, the one thing there is that agreement, big time, that agreement that, on the other side of this, that customer doesn't expect it. Oh, well, that discount rate is now your new ceiling. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that comes down to relationships, and you get a feel for that. But yeah, for those type of and this is where, hey, we're all in this together. Let's survive this period. Let's just keep things going. And then sort of moving on. The thing I'm talking about undercutting is really trying to get out there and actively go out the market hard, and because that's a no gain position to be in.
And that leads me to probably my final question before we open it up to everybody, just to ask their questions if they have any, is that the great Kenny Rogers died recently, unfortunately. And, he sang the famous song, The Gambler, got to know when to hold them, fold them, walk away, and when to run. In terms of this period of time, there will, as you said before, there will be businesses that won't survive. What are you suggesting, or what do you think you need to suggest to people? Do they need to have, 3 or 4 different trigger levels for making different decisions? And when do you stop throwing good money after bad, for example, and things like that? And that's a really tough question for business owners, because they don't want to admit defeat. But, should people be thinking along those lines now, just in case, or should they? I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, this is the whole thing. When I talk about a reset, this is about, and I'll share my screen in a second, Jason, just to show, because I'm going to come back to when you talk about the gambler, right? Because people who are successful gamblers, professional gamblers, okay, know when to hold them, throw away, walk away. It's based on their process. They know, based on their algorithms or process, how they do it. Once it gets to 3, if it hasn't got to 3, they walk away. If it hasn't, if it's still going, they're going to stay in there. So what it is that it's not like a off the cuff or reactive or emotional or personal sort of decision. It's basically very clear, boom, 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 keep going, or boom, boom, out. So it's process driven, right? It's numbers. It's probability. Okay. So again, so this is the thing, as a business owner, we're all running these businesses. And this is why you got to think, or what you really think of it, is that you're building an investment. Okay. And like any investment, we've got to look at it like, where's our return? Okay. And the big word that I want everyone to think about too is opportunity costs. Okay. So opportunity cost, everyone, is pretty much, while you're investing all this blood, sweat, and tears into this business, what are you potentially missing out on another opportunity or another business? Does that make sense, Jason? So, because that's the way, rather than thinking about, I want everyone, if you just think it like a job, then you're trying to hold on and I'm only good on the tools. No, we're business owners first. We're building an investment. Okay. We're building value. Okay. We're building assets and systems that we can leverage. So where can you actually, if you're not going to invest in this business, where can you go? Now, I'll just quickly I'll just turn my video off and I'll just share a couple of things, right? So now for everyone, I'm not sure for those, and Jason, I'm not sure how many's on the call that have already got access to the Cube as part of the MEA. But what we recommend in terms of the power of the Cube, everyone in the community, is that we've got a thing called, which is our profit plan. So in the profit plan, everyone, what we're talking about, know when to run and know when to hold them. And so is it, we can come up here with a lot of different scenarios. Okay. We can actually, within the profit plan, we can work around, I've got here, I'm calling this one here, like as an example, reset, right? So this could be the reset one where, So reset where, what happens if, think of it this way, reset, what happens if we get rid of all our, commercial maintenance as an example? We're going to get rid of commercial maintenance and we're going to be just focusing on residential construction. Or I might just be focusing on preventive maintenance rather than reactive maintenance. Or I'm going to look at maybe just really focusing in on that commercial construction market. So what we're trying to do here, everyone, is what if scenarios. What happens if this market goes down? What happens if I lose all my guys? So you can have one here. What if we expand? What happens if we put another 3 or 4 guys on? In other words, if I need to invest more, what do I need to have in return from a top line point of view to ensure we get the right amount of profit? So one thing we talk about, this is what, now's the time to really have some different what if scenarios. So you've got to be looking at everything now, because again, you've got to understand, post this, there is going to be a reset. It's like in the NRL now, everyone, like in the NRL or AFL, depending on what code you look at. If you listen to the commentary, you listen to what they're saying that when this comes back, there's going to be an absolute reset. Admin costs are gone, salaries, players' wages are going to be gone, change. So there is going to be a change and reset. So what's the potential reset in your business? So in here, you can really go through line by line. And if I go into here, like into higher rate, you can actually go in and start, looking at the type of work you're doing. Okay. So, and I won't go into this in detail, everyone. I don't want to bore people or freak people out, but I just want to sort of just give you a little bit of an inside scoop in terms of what we're going to look at here. Is it, in the Cube, everyone, the people are already starting to dig away. You can come up with different scenarios with different types of work type. Okay. You can come up with planned investment. So under the planned investment number 2, line by line, how many guys do you have on board? How much do you need to pay them? What's it going to cost you in superannuation? And then line by line expenses, vehicles, fuel, insurances. What's it going to cost you? This is where we as business owners need to get a good line of sight of what we up for in cost. And then projections. Then we actually look at the projections and then look at levers, which you're alluding to, Jason, in terms of hourly rates, margins that we're putting on materials, potential service call out rates. So all this can all be done within the Cube. And this is why I recommend everyone that's got the Cube already, you get in there and come up with a number of different scenarios to give you confidence, your wife confidence, your family confidence, your team confidence, that you're going to be making the good decisions. And then, Jason, the one thing that off the back of this is that, you can then start going to your suppliers and customers as well and talking about, well, what's the future looking like for you? How can you help me achieve this? So this is one of those key things around a really key process around planning. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Cube data that you're using there, that's all been sucked in via MYOB or Xero or whatever that that people can
That's
use.
right. So we've got like sort of the existing data that we're coming in from last year. That's all coming in. We've got a live connection in from Xero. We do it manually at the moment from Mob and QuickBooks, but we've got a live connection coming in. That should be coming soon.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that we're pulling in the starting point is actual data for how you're actually performing right now, and then working through what needs to happen and adjusting it. Because obviously, what we're seeing today or living in today is a little bit different from yesterday, and it's going to be different again tomorrow. So it's about preempting the future.
Okay.
And then, then obviously, so through that, and then the other key one within here, everyone too, is from a financial point of view is cash flow projections. Now, again, a lot of people right now is 100% time to work on your cash flow projections. Again, a lot of people go, they say, oh, Jonesy, do I really need that? Oh, it takes a lot of time just to get set up. Yeah, it does take a bit of time to get set up, but then once it's set up, you get full transparency of how you're going. Now, again, we've got a 13-week rolling cash flow forecast. Now, it's pretty simple here, gang. When you got this set up, if you look at the bottom line is pretty simple. Green is good. Okay, red's not that good. Okay, red's not that good. So, and we liken it to a red train. So the red train hitting us means we've got no cash in the bank. It means we haven't got enough money to pay all our invoices, to pay all our statutory compliance. So again, what this does, walk away. This is a really key part of your business model. So when you're scrolling through here, who's paying us this week? Okay, are we going to get paid? Are these jobs going to pay us? You push it out, or you pull it forward depending on the conversations you're having. Then, what do I need to pay this week? What's coming out of my bank every week, every month? So we're getting good control over it. And then from a statutory point of view, GST, PAYG, superannuation, what we're doing here, gang, there's no big shocks. There's no big tax shocks anymore. We've got a clear line of sight. And then what this comes down to, Jason, again, we know then based on what we're seeing here, what we need to do and walk away, or what discussions we need to have. So it's all about having good peace of mind and good confidence in our systems and processes. Now, fair bit of, I'll just stop sharing now. No, fair bit of numbers to look at there, but really, really important in terms of that control that gives us business owners peace of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I did have to take a phone call from a member the other day, and they were absolutely stuck, and that sort of reminded me of it. They can't make their guys redundant because they don't have enough cash. They can't pay their leave because they don't have enough cash. They've got no cash to pay their suppliers. So, unfortunately, I've got this one member particularly who's caught between a rock and a hard place, and they're desperate to try and do something for their staff. But they've just got no ability to move either way because they've had a drop off in work over a 2 or 3 week period, and obviously they don't know their numbers well enough, and they haven't kept those accruals and things like that, and you say the big tax shock, etc. They obviously haven't kept that sort of stuff, so that's put them into a really dangerous situation. So.
And that's like here, there's a number one thing. And if everyone wants to just research 13-week rolling cash flow forecaster. Okay. It's Business Finance 101 anywhere around the world. All the key people will tell you this is the best way to manage your cash flow finance. It's not about just getting a cash flow forecast out of your MYOB or your QuickBooks or your Xero. Okay. Because that's only based on obviously anything that you've actually invoiced or a bill that you put in there with a due date or a payable date, okay? So there's a lot of other things that happen around that. So this is the best way to manage it, the 13-week rolling cash flow forecast. Now, it's already built into the Cube. I recommend those. If you're not on the Cube, just get you can download a template but it's really important to get a hold of it. See, that instance there, Jason, this is what we're telling people right now, is he should be talking to his accountant right now based on what sort of, breaks he can get right now. He should be factoring in government subsidies in that forecast so that maybe next week or next month, he'll be getting other cash coming in. And that just gives him the confidence to know, okay, well, if I've got that in there, there's a lever. I'll push that forward. I won't pay that. And again, gang, just to let you know, talk to your accountant and stop paying any BAS as of now. Okay, if you've got payment plans on there, just put another call on a stop on any of your tax. But this is what this document does. It gives you full transparency in what's coming in, what's going out, and enables you to have great conversations with those key people that can actually help you.
Absolutely.
So that's a key.
Right. All right. Well, we might leave it there. Are there any questions? We've had about 12 questions so far, which we've answered, I think, pretty well. Are there any questions or topics that any of the participants want to throw up on the Q&A? Nothing coming through just at the moment? No? Okay. All right, well, we might leave it there. So, Matt, any final words for everybody about all the key take-home points, etc., from today?
Look, I think it just comes down to mindset. Okay, this is mindset.
Yep.
And pretty much your behavior, how you're feeling is going to come down to what you're consuming. Okay, so what I recommend is that you should be consuming these sort of webinars, consume less social media, consume less social commentators, okay? Listen to other podcasts. Use this time to actually, read books. Use this time so to really, control your mindset and get excited about this reset. Now, in life, positivity, out of pain and difficulty comes learning, okay? So this is about an opportunity to really be agile and learn about, okay, reset, what are the little things you can do better in your business? And this is not going to last forever, so just always look for the opportunity. Okay, there's going to be an opportunity on the other side of this, and I really want everyone just to think positive. Think strong. This is a great thing about the MEA community. Okay, is that we're in it collectively together. There's a lot of support here for everyone. So this is all about really 100% sticking strong together, reaching out if you're not sure. But again, just have a really strong mindset about the positivity of the future.
Yeah. We've had one question. Can we have the name of the 13-week cash flow? It was just a 13-week cash flow.
It's a 13-week cash flow forecaster.
Yep.
So now that's a generic term that people will say, like Robert Kiyosaki and all those key, they'll say, the best way to manage your cash flow is a 13-week rolling cash flow forecaster. We've already got it set up in the Cube. But if you just dial 13-week cash flow forecaster,
yep,
you should be able to get a template there.
If I remember correctly, the Cube's actually included in the master program for MEA.
Yes. So that's right.
I think the person who just asked that question is actually in the master program, so they'll be jumping on board with that.
Just jump on board
with the Cube with that over the next couple of weeks or so.
Listen again with the MEA members out there, like this is a part of your package. Okay, so getting in there, forecasting, getting really key budgets, cash flow forecasting, it's built in there. So please leverage it.
And we certainly do it here, I can tell you. So. Yeah. Anyway, well, look, that's the end of the questions, etc. Ladies and gentlemen online, I hope you found some of that interesting and useful. And I support what Matt says, particularly look for facts and look where you go. Certainly from our point of view, our social media only just reflects the government sites and what the Prime Minister has said. We don't offer opinions. We're not offering anything in that respect. We just want to transmit the information directly to you guys, and I think that's working pretty well for our members. That's the feedback that we're getting anyway. But look, we hope you appreciate today, and I hope you've got a bit out of that. And Matt, I'd like to thank you particularly for your time. I know you do, and really appreciate it. So, thanks everybody. We'll leave it there, and we'll see you later. Adios.
Cheers, Jason. Thank you. Thanks everyone.
Thanks, Matt.
Good luck. Reset.